your law library somewhere other than the courthouse because of a flood, or does it back?
Yes, so the law library is located in the courthouse annex that is otherwise known as the Holman Building, which is
Okay.
located directly next door to the courthouse. Same block right beside McMenamins.
She's been driving to Salem
Right.
to their law library.
So can any citizen just go there?
Yes, and I think I'm going to tell you all about that here in a minute. You don't need to drive to Salem. You can just come visit me on Main Street.
Yeah. But so if you could just
Just
turn
shut it off.
for now, because it's really
annoying.
distracting the way it keeps going off and on.
Sorry.
And as long as we have copies of everything, and some of them are turned around looking at them backwards. So I
And
can't
so,
do
since we're taking a break, apparently.
that. No,
No?
we're not taking a break, not till after this. Then we get to have.
The reason
We're
because
doing
there's
law library.
a lot of people not here. So the legislature's always after law libraries. You're doing okay this year, I take it.
You know, our budget's flat. It's been quite a haul ever since the recession. So over a decade now, we've been dealing with legislative, let's call them issues every year, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Then I'd like to
Yeah,
thank
thanks,
everyone. My name is Jennifer Daglish. For those of you who don't know me, I am the law librarian. I've been the law librarian for the past almost 18 years. This is Brent Summers representing the Law Library Board. The Law Library Board is appointed by the Clackamas County Bar Association. In recent history, Diane always presented the law library budget as part of the pass-throughs, and so this is a first for us. I think this presentation is probably going to look a little different from the others, so bear with us. Let me see.
And I do want to point out that you've got about 30 minutes scheduled for your presentation, so half presentation, and then the other half of that would be time for Q&A from the
Questions? Perfect.
committee. So thank you.
I think we should be able to get it in that time. And I'll try to say all these big words really fast, but slow enough for you guys to understand what's happened with the law library. Sometimes people are surprised to find out the law library isn't just for attorneys or judges. The mission of the law library is to help provide equal access to legal information, research, services, and resources to everyone. We don't discriminate. One moment we may be helping a judge with a really complicated, narrow issue, and the next moment be helping a housing challenged person with a trespass issue. We strive to maintain balance with our patron usage rates. This means half of the patrons that we serve are members of the legal community and the other half are not. They're students, authors, reporters, pro ses, potential pro ses, and the list goes on and on. The court and others provide basic legal information and reference services to the public in a one-size-fits-all manner. We provide advanced legal information, research, and reference services that are tailored to fit the needs of our local community. We work to maintain a cost-efficient, well-balanced collection of both print and online resources. That's something we're asked about a lot. What do you need a law library for? Isn't everything available online? The definitive, adamant answer to that is no. Everything is not available online. When it comes to legal resources, they most definitely are not available online for free or no cost in an accurate and reliable manner. And then also, they're hard to find on your own. If you do a Google search, it's not likely that you're going to end up getting the results that you need and or would want to use in a court of law. We have professional staff members. All have either a Juris Doctorate or master's degree in library science. Well, except for me, I have both. And those staff members are available to assist patrons during all of our regular business hours. Like I said, the law library is open to everybody, but we're different than a public library. In the library community, law libraries are categorized as special and reference facilities. What this means is that people don't just come into the law library and browse around. They are greeted by a staff member and then they're assisted. we help them navigate the legal research journey on their own. I always like to say we teach people how to fish. We don't fish for them. Performing legal research can be complicated, and it often requires specialized assistance, and this needs to happen in a quiet, contemplative atmosphere. That means that the self-help person could go into the courthouse and be helped in a loud atmosphere by getting their paperwork, but they need to have a quiet place to sit down and look up the laws, to write out their forms, to talk to people about their issues. And we provide those spaces. We provide quiet rooms for studying. We provide meeting space. We provide rooms for arbitrations and depositions and client counseling sessions, as well as clinics that we have. And another thing the Law Library does is that it serves as the information hub for our local legal community. And recently, there's been a lot of focus on one segment of the population that we serve, the self-represented litigants. The courts are beginning to recognize and discuss the significant role county law libraries play in helping self-represented litigants navigate the court system. So above and beyond the basic assistance that's provided by facilitation service programs, the law libraries help the courts fill the gaps in equal access to information dissemination by providing more narrowly tailored and complex assistance to people trying to represent themselves. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our funding at this point. Historically, the county law libraries were funded by a percentage of the civil filing fees. Well, that's a lot of words. What does it mean, right? It means that in 1927, there was statutory language that was enacted enabling every county to receive up to 40% of each civil lawsuit filed to operate a free law library that would be available to everybody. The Clackamas County Bar Association appealed to Clackamas County to do just that, and the Clackamas County Law Library was established by county order. Alden E. Miller began serving as a law librarian in 1935. In 1978, Clackamas County issued an order and renamed the law library in his honor. So it's now known as the Alden E. Miller Law Library of Clackamas County. In 1978, Elsa Warner became the second law librarian. Mr. Miller and Miss Warner worked diligently to continuously improve the collection and services, manage the budget, and set aside funds for the future of the law library. The future is here. The percentage of the civil filing fee the law library received was its only source of revenue. That percentage was reduced several times over the years, and it remained the only source of revenue. In 2007, county law libraries were receiving 27% of each civil filing fee. So basically, a person goes into the courthouse, they file for divorce or bankruptcy, and 27% of that filing fee would go to the law library. It would go to the state, and the state would issue the check to the county, and it would go to the law library. So what that meant was that our funding, the law library funding, was directly tied to a measurable amount of activity that was occurring in our courthouse. In 2011, House Bill 2710 eliminated the county law library portion of civil filing fees collected, and they directed all of that revenue from the filing fees into the state's general fund, which I'm sure you guys have heard about from other departments over time. So I know this is a lot of history, but bear with me. This is important, right? In 1981, as some of you may know or possibly remember, the judicial branch assumed administration of the court system. County law libraries and courthouses remained under the counties. Although there is often speculation to the contrary, you know, the legislative history shows that decision to leave the law library under the control of the counties, it was done purposefully. And today, each county remains statutorily mandated to operate a free law library at a location that is convenient and available at reasonable hours. In 2007, 9.829 was enacted, allowing counties to use up to 1/2 of their law library allocation for mediation and conciliation services. So that gets me to the question of what's happening now. Currently, county law libraries are being funded with biennial appropriations from the state's general fund based on their total funding amount that was collected in the 2005 and 2007 biennia. 2005 and 2007. That means that our revenue has remained stagnant and flat for over a decade, well over a decade at this point. So legal publishing costs have continued to rise, cost allocations have risen, all of our other costs have continued to rise, and our revenue is based on the percentage that we collected in those two biennia only. So as you can imagine, if you look at our county budget history, our budget looks flat. And that's because we have made constant and extreme reductions to the law library. And honestly, it's our collection that's been hit the hardest. We have stopped purchasing materials in print and opted to purchase access to them only online. So think about, say you have a book that costs $250. It used to be we'd buy that book and then we would update it every other year depending on how much it costs. Now we buy that book online, but it's only access to that book. And they don't provide remote access. The legal publishers don't. So we're only purchasing access to online materials for just 1 year, just a short period in time. So if we can't afford that access the next year because those costs continue to rise, then we no longer have the book. Back in the day, we still had the book. It just wasn't current. And so maybe we could look other places to get the current law, but that's not even a possibility anymore for most legal materials. So the law library has never sought support from the county general fund. Existing services and collection levels, which, as I mentioned, have already been cut down to the bone and are being maintained by tapping into our reserve fund. At this rate, our reserve fund will be depleted within the next biennium. So, as you can see, our budget, like I said, has almost always been flat. That difference that you see in the 2017-18 year was due to the flood and fire that we experienced in the Holman building. So that was out of our hands. But if you look before that, they're going to all look pretty much exactly like that, just equal. The damages to our collection are still awaiting replacement. In July, it will have been 2 years since we experienced the flood. In December, 2 years since the fire. And we have not replaced all of our materials yet because we're waiting on insurance, basically. So
What?
the insurance issues to be settled. The law library assists approximately 10 to 15,000 patrons per year with a very, very small staff. But these numbers don't include things like trainings, programs, clinics. If you take a look at our patron usage statistics, you'll see that our non-attorney patron usage right now is less than our attorney usage, and that's a direct result of the flood and the fire. We expect that those numbers will return to pre-existing levels this year.
Which is 50-50.
Yeah, which is 50-50. We, like I said before, we always strive to maintain balance. We really believe that we want to continue the Clackamas County tradition of providing equal services and access to all of the legal research information and resources and services, whether or not you're an attorney or a judge or just a Clackamas County resident or citizen. We want everyone to be treated equally. We believe that's the hallmark and the foundation of the law library. So that's something that's important to us. But if you were to talk to people in other counties, you would find out that there's a shift in that balance just depending on what their local needs are. And you know, this is interesting. I just happened to notice it and thought it might be interesting to show you guys a comparison of our budget pie charts. You have it in your packet from this year. between 5 years ago and now, if you look at, the resources part of the pie, you'll see, oh, I can't go back. It won't let me go back. There we go. So you'll see that our resources are comprised of three things: our fund balance, our revenue from the court, and a minor amount of copy fees and fines that we collect. And our requirements are comprised of personnel, cost allocations, materials and services, and our reserve fund. When you compare the two, you see that although the pie is the same, our fund balance piece of the pie has gotten larger. You'll also see that we're at a point where our requirements are almost equal. See the change? For example, our personnel used to be 44% and it's now at 29%. So like so many other county departments, we're just doing more with less. As far as our vision's concerned, we remain hopeful for the future. A law library for a county this size is essential to providing equal access to justice, and the law library is a key asset in the courthouse information flow system. We have a strategic development plan that was created by the Law Library Committee, and we hope that it will help maintain the law library for the next 5 years. And although we're not asking for help this year, we do expect to do so in the future. We also help to improve coordination of our services with existing access to justice initiatives and in the new courthouse. While the public information desk and self-help area of a new courthouse may seek to meet the basic legal information and assistance needs of the local community, the law library will serve the advanced legal information, reference, research, and assistance needs of the local community. We believe the two will best operate in close proximity to one another in order to minimize frustrations and provide equal access and a well-rounded experience to all users. Both areas would provide a high-tech, high-touch experience for the user. I don't think it can be stated enough that while the court provides basic electronic forms and instructions to pro ses, the law library provides advanced electronic forms, databases, and specialized assistance to every person, regardless of whether they're going through the court or not. In less populated counties with ready access to county law libraries or county law library services, partnerships between public libraries and trial courts are helping to expand self-help services to litigants. In more populated counties like ours, specialized local law library services are essential. In more populated counties, public law libraries are integral to the expansion of legal access and services to everyone in public libraries, community centers, and beyond. Our plan is to keep increasing collaborative efforts and continue providing and helping to improve equal access to justice for all. As far as some of the emerging issues that we see, in 2018, legislation was carved out in Multnomah County only for Multnomah County to use up to 100% of its law library funding for a court facilitation program. So that means they can use all of the law library funding in Multnomah County just for a self-help center in the new courthouse. In 2019, so this session, there was legislation introduced that would expand that Multnomah option to all counties. It hasn't passed yet. Session's almost over. But what we think is going to happen is that a work group on county law libraries is going to be convened for the 2020 legislative session. And we hope to be included with helping plan a sustainable administrative and organizational structure for the future of all county law libraries in Oregon. Brent.
Thanks, Jen. My name's Brent Summers. I've been a lawyer in Oregon in the Tri-County area for practicing law for 37 years. I was a past president of the Clackamas County Bar Association, and several years ago I was asked to serve on the library board, the law library board, and it is with great despair that I come before you today and I will close and use plain talk about the desperate situation of the law library. We have a reserve fund, which to a board like yours that is so faced with so many financing challenges is a good thing. We'll take your money out of your reserve fund. Well, that was established in the 1960s by forward-thinking members of the Clackamas County Bar Association that wanted to make sure that the library had a contingency reserve fund for the future, and it was substantial. It used to be close to $500,000. It's down under $167,000. And we've had to hit it this year. We've hit it every year for the last 10 years to make our budget. It's going to run out. I want to emphasize before I close and I get to the heart of the matter, and I apologize to the staff who was kind enough to hear me say these things with Jennifer when we presented the budget initially for listening to it again. But I want to reemphasize the 50-50 nature of the service that the law library provides, not only to the bench and bar and not only to the courthouse staff, but to the community, the 50% that is provided directly to the citizens of this county. And I want to emphasize the point Jennifer made that we've never asked for being involved in the line item budget of the county, of Clackamas County. But the time has come for us to ask for that. And we spoke to staff about it and they helped us. They helped us with some of the assessments and allocations. This year, they couldn't take up our request to be considered as a line item matter for this fiscal year, but we're going to ask again next year. We need to ask desperately because the way this operates, and it's no fault of anyone in the county or the state, it's an accident of fate that happened in 1983 legislature when the state courts administrators took over the administration of the operation of the courts and left the facilities to the counties. But this law library actually pays net revenue to the county to exist. The county is actually money ahead because the county receives the state allocation as a pass-through, and then we pay rent in the form of allocations to our building use. So the county is actually money ahead. And that may come as a surprise to people, and it may become, people may want to debate with me the point about whether that's the appropriate characterization of it, but if you look at the numbers, that is it. And our board has struggled to fight to hold on to our reserve to make sure we survive and to make sure that the law library continues to provide the services that it does. But that reserve's going to be gone if we keep hitting it and if we don't find a way to ask you to find a way to make a line item allocation to us or at least stop charging us rent for the privilege of running our business in the Ralph Homan building or something. And our next ask next year, during the year, Jennifer works very hard with very little, is going to be to spend some more of her valuable time with staff and to try to come to some conclusions about whether we can study this or make a presentation when and how we can come before the Board of Commissioners and say, we really need your help if you want us around going forward. And if I've been over dramatic, I apologize, but I have a deep affinity for the law library.
Thank you, Brent.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Barnard.
Well, first, I'd like to see it on the parking lot, that we look at law library funding. Remember, everything on the parking lot doesn't mean that we're going to do it, but we're going to talk about it.
Amen to that.
And the other thing is that, you know, we are building a courthouse, but you have a problem too. We don't know who you are. Your marketing needs improvement. She is a person who's well aware of the politics in Clackamas County, did not know we had a law library. And so I think there's a partnership with the county, various departments, with our PGA group behind you to get the information out. They're the next budget up, by the way. And you know, we send a newspaper to every quarter, correctly?
Every quarter,
And
every household in the county.
Let's get an article in there to tell people who you are, and make sure that people know you're here, because we're going to build a courthouse. you're going to be in the courthouse. It won't do us any good to put you in the courthouse. Nobody knows you're there. So, and you can help us sell it.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, let's put it on the parking lot, and let's talk about in the process of building a courthouse, how you can help us make that happen and how we can get the word out that you exist. Now, I know you because I was in Salem working with AOC when everyone always comes after your money, you know.
Right, right. Well,
Then
thank you.
Go to
Thank
where
you.
it's easy. But, you know, the real reason I got this up because I own an automotive business and we used to buy Chilton manuals for years. I have manuals that go back into the 20s. You can't buy them anymore. You can, but why would you when you can go online? And it takes up a
They
lot
don't
less
have
room.
them online all the way back to the 20s, just so you know, you need to go to a law library to
that's
see
right.
the old ones.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I mean, technology is a wonderful thing, but not knowing you're there, people just don't know. So I'd be happy to commit to making sure that folks in Clackamas County know that there's a resource, a valuable resource with people willing to help.
We recently began meeting with PGA and we're working on marketing. We were very, very careful about, as you say, getting the word out because, like I said, we have one full-time staff member and 2 part-time. The need in this county is so much greater than anything we could ever purport to keep up with. We found that out recently when we started. We've had a partnership with Legal Aid Services of Oregon and the Clackamas County Bar Association since 2014 to provide clinics to the public. We provide a regular expungement clinic every other month, and then we provide a lawyer in the library clinic. We decided to partner with the local public library, the Oregon City Public Library, and when we did our we couldn't keep up with the demand. I had to just dedicate a staff person to answering calls for the lawyer in the library clinic at the law library because
Are you
it
a
was
county
so great.
employee or a court?
We are county employees.
Okay, that's a good question.
Yeah.
We have, excuse me, 2 others up on comments, Ms. Caldwell and then Commissioner Humberston.
Thank you. Did I hear you say that your percentage of the full state pot of filing fees has stayed flat since 2007-9? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes.
So is that, I mean,
It
are you-
actually reduced by $25,000 in the most previous biennium.
but I'm talking about your percentage of the total pot.
Yes.
So is the pot itself shrinking or flatlined or?
No, there was recognition in the previous biennium that the pot distribution, each allocation was based on the percentage of revenue that the county received for the law library in the 2005 biennium.
Right.
And so they attempted to fix it. And when they did, they said, we will base your law library percentage on the allocation, on a percentage of how many filing fees your county received in the most recent biennium. And our filing fees for civil filing fees just happened to be down a little bit. And so our percentage of the pot was decreased by approximately $25,000 each year.
Well,
So-
we heard earlier today that 5 of the 10 fastest growing cities in Oregon are in Clackamas County. It seems like there should be some adjustment in
Right.
statewide allocation of this money.
Yeah,
So I don't know what it would take to do that, but there's a parking lot item for you.
Yeah,
That would be very helpful.
good, thank you. Commissioner Humberston?
Just curious, do you know in your cost allocation how much your rent is?
I do, and it was it increased greatly for the upcoming fiscal year. I was told that was due to some of the issues that we already referenced in the Holman building, and after we had our budget meeting, thankfully they took a look at it and they reduced our rent for the building by almost $10,000, and so that made it so that we could actually balance our budget this year. Because of the rent in the Holman building, we weren't going to be able to without them taking a second look at it.
The number's 28,769, or am I reading that? Am I reading that? 28,769, $28,769.
Right, and that was after the 9,000 something reduction.
That's a year's rent?
Yes, it was supposed to be 34, but staff kindly helped us with that.
Thank you.
Ms. Fish, did you have your card up for a comment or question? Yes, ma'am.
I got distracted with the
But that's okay.
cost allocation. My comment was, as they are county employees, they will be considered as part of the Equal Pay Act. And it is our understanding that they are librarians and they get paid significantly less than the other librarians in our area. So in addition to having static revenue, therefore budget issues, we anticipate that their costs will go up for both allocations being in a new building that will cost more than their old building and for personnel.
Mm.
Good news all around.
Yeah,
Mm.
really good.
Seeing- Seeing no other questions, we thank you for your time. It certainly gives us something to think about as we move forward with perhaps next year's budget especially, and what discussion comes out of our parking lot discussion, in this later process. So thank you very much. If any of us can help get the word out about who you are and what you are, let us know. But we don't want to get too much word out there if you don't want all
Until
those
you're
people.
ready.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for the directive with respect to getting the word out, because it's something that we really need to work on.
Okay, all right. I'm thinking like a Rotary Club circuit or something like that, right?
That's not a bad idea. Yeah,
That's,
and the
Enough of them all through the county, everybody would hear about it.
But we also do fundraisers inside the bar, but maybe we'll try to do one out in the county too.
Okay, then.
There you
What's
go.
the name of the bar? I'm just
Oh, you're a funny guy.
Ask that question.
Okay, so
Yeah.
members of the Budget Committee, help me make a choice here. We are scheduled in 5 minutes for our next and the last of today's presentations. It's scheduled for a 30-minute presentation. Because of the length of some of our other discussions, we've taken up what would be most of our break time. We can go ahead and take a quick break, 5 minutes, and then reconvene for our 30-minute, or we can go right into our 30-minute and then be able to have maybe a little bit more time at the end, or we can take a full 15-minute break right now. So I am looking for any thoughts.
10 minutes.
You're going to compromise.
10-minute break.
Okay, 10-minute break. So 5 minutes after. I'm hearing more for 5 than I am for 10. 5-minute break.